All righty, Mr. Joel Steele. I'm really, to be honest with you, honored to have you on the channel. People that know anything about stick shift racing, if they don't know your name, something's wrong with them. When it comes to stick shift racing, H pattern stuff, you're right now top dog. If you don't mind introducing yourself to the audience, whether it be what you do for a living, how you got into cars, the whole 9 yards. Just give me a rundown. Like how'd you get into cars? Let's start there, and then we'll dive into. Does the car have a name? I never knew if the car had a name.
The car race last year name was Constantine, and it's actually a biblical name, but and this is bad to say with biblical, but Constantine was basically a badass. And when I heard that name, it was in some movie, and I was like, man, that's a badass name. I was like, I want to name the car that. Not knowing that saying that name, and I didn't even know how to fucking spell it at the time. It was hard to say, and people usually don't have names for their cars that an announcer can't really say very quick, but that was the name of the car, was Constantine.
Gotcha. Yeah, Constantine was a Keanu Reeves movie with I think where he was a lawyer. Or no, that was Devil's Advocate. I'm sorry, that was Devil's Advocate, but Keanu Reeves was in another Constantine. But tell me about your background. How'd you get into cars? What started the whole racing passion to begin with?
Okay, I'll go back from when I was in high school, a lowrider S10 wannabe, and I had a pretty nice little S10. Didn't have much to it, but I didn't know anything about cars. I didn't grow up in cars with my family at all. And I met my wife actually, and her whole family was into Mustangs. And I've never had a Mustang, never had anything like really, really fast or even fast, remotely fast. And got a little bit of trouble with a crotch rocket, and didn't force me into the Marine Corps, but it helped me along the way. And I needed to do something, or I was going to wind up in jail for the rest of my life. And go to the Marine Corps, and when I joined there, I was actually on a suspended and probation for 2 years. And my first car, when I could have a car with my license, my wife actually, I think we're going to go here with this, was actually pretty funny. I was coming back from my first deployment, and my wife, we bought a car, I think while I was deployed or when I got back, I don't even remember, but she drove it all the way from Bowling Green, Kentucky to Jacksonville, North Carolina, and the first stoplight she rolls into, which is a bunch of dumbass Marines driving cars that are way too fast. And she outruns some dude in a car when she's driving a stick shift 03 GT with a Pro Charge, P1 Pro Charger on it. And that's kind of how I got into the Mustang, and it just gradually grew more and more and more. That was a 03 GT. I had 3 03, 04 Cobras. Then I went to a 10 GT 500, did a bunch of VMP stuff to it, made 7 something to the wheels, got out of it, and then I seen Justin Starkey's car come up for sale, and I was like, man, that's got to be perfect. It's got a VMP. If it's built like a VMP, then it's got to be perfect. I had a buddy, I was at a school, and he'd been fucking me. I just bought this damn truck. He's like, hey, I want to buy your truck. I was like, dude, I just bought it. Go buy one at the dealership and get one just like it. And that car came up for sale. I was like, hey, give me cash and I'll go get this car right now. I was like, but I need that truck. It was a diesel to go get this car in Florida at where Justin, where he had his old shop or original shop.
At his house, basically. Yeah, he used to work out of his house.
So I went and picked that car up and drove it all the way back. And it went from being a VMP car to me being doing stupid shit on the street to and it's a funny story. So I didn't have a lot of money. I was just a dumbass enlisted person in the Marine Corps. And I was like, man, I need to borrow some money from USAA, and I'm going to ask for more. So, Justin, I need you to write the bill of sale for more so I can afford the T56 Magnum swap on there, because I know that MT82 ain't going to do shit. So he did that for me. It was awesome. And I put a T56 within 2 weeks in having that car. And then within a year, I put a Hellion twin turbo kit on that car, and I did a lot of stupid stuff on the street. I raced. Where I made myself addicted to going fast is I made a lot of money racing crotch rockets. And I was not a young Marine. I mean, maybe mentally I was young, but I was not physically a young Marine. So there's a lot of stupid things that go on when you're in the military, especially when it's to do with cars. So you can get your adrenaline rushes with cars, and that's kind of how I guess I got addicted to it a little bit. And had a buddy, and his name's Doug. Doug, and he had an S1K. He's a jockey. I mean, at that time, I think he weighed 120, 130 pounds on a 220 horsepower S1K. So we'd show up at these races, and we were doing roll racing. There was no dig racing, so it was all the gay shit that everybody does, roll racing, and I participated in that. And they'd be like, "Well, I don't want to race you. You're on a BMW S1K." And my buddy Doug like, "Well, I got a car here you can race." And I had 17 pounds on a Boss motor, stock Boss motor, 17 pounds. There wasn't a bike out there that would defeat me, including my buddy with the S1K, because I outran him numerous times with that thing. And we made a lot of money doing that. Of course, I was doing shit. I was doing 200-mile-an-hour pulls. And when they hand the money to him, I'd be like, if you let off before 200, he's not giving you that money, and I'm taking it. And they'd look at him like, what the fuck? And I'd be like, well, and he's like, why don't you race him? And Doug just shake his head and say, nah, not doing that. And then we go race. So that's kind of what got me addicted to going real fast with a stick shift car. And then it progressed to, I ended up accidentally getting out of the Marine Corps after right at 10 years and moving back and starting a civilian life and getting a real job and not living off the government like every other piece of shit in this world does. And I I ended up getting a big boy job with my father-in-law. He hired me to be a sales rep, and it did a lot of good things for me. And I met a lot of good people. And then in the middle of that, I ended up opening my own business. It's an Ackstone business because of my buddy Robert Miller, which we call him Bobby, but he's the redheaded dude that you make fun of because he can't videotape for shit.
That's him. Okay,
Yeah.
he's great. I love that dude. I want to meet that guy.
Yeah, you'll love him. And you probably actually met him at Nats. I really don't know. He was there.
Okay.
But met him. We did. We've done some company stuff together, and he started Flipping Axe, which is an axe throwing bar, and we have. There's a total of 8 of them now. I personally own 1 of them, and he owns 3 or 4 of them. And I convinced him to move to Bowling Green, Kentucky, and then he lives in Tennessee. But we're huge into cars, and cars is our way out. And then we came up with this stick shift the world. And now I convinced him to do the stick shift racing, which he actually bought, or he has Bart Tobner's car, and we're making a stick shift car. And that's what we're going to do this year for him. But I'll back up and go back to how he's a part of this. And he helped me out starting this business. And now we have another business. So this warehouse that I gave you a run through, that's actually for a wood distributing business.
Okay.
And that's the reason why we have such a big shop. Is it's supposed to be full of wood, but thanks to Biden, you can't get a fucking thing these days. So it went my shit. So
that's great.
we when it comes in, it goes on a truck and goes out. So that's the reason why it's just full of cars now, not full of wood. But
okay.
how
do you start? Okay, you're racing guys on the street. You're getting after. You're making money. So you're one of those guys. You're like, I ain't racing this motherfucker. This motherfucker don't come off the trail unless we racing for 1,000, 2,000, whatever. And you're making like, okay, could you give me a runabout number? How much money you were making a month, a week, just street racing?
Anytime that we went out, it cost me $300 in fuel because at that time I was running. And now they're actually sponsoring my car. But at the time, it was nothing. But I was running Renegade 120 on a Coyote with O2 sensors that I was fucking shooting about every other time because they can't take that leaded fuel that I was putting through there. But it was costing me about $300 to go out, and we try to make $500 to $1,000. And then I had a stipulation that I wouldn't race anybody that was 25 years or younger on a crotch rocket because they do a lot of stupid shit, don't know what to let out, and I didn't want to kill anybody. We're already doing something illegal. I didn't want to be the person that makes headline news in a Mustang running over somebody in a crotch rocket like you probably see at least once a year. So we go out and do that. And it was just something to do. I mean,
How much money do you think you would make? Let's say, how often would you race? Would you race every week? And would you make what, 3-4 grand a month, 2 grand a month? Like, how much would you roundabout, if you were just to round it out, how much do you think you'd make street racing?
It was more of a hobby. It wasn't something to make money. I bet I made probably $10,000 a year doing it, maybe.
Okay. Hey, that's.
But I also had a job to where I was not home a lot either. So I would be deploying or doing stuff to where if I was bored and did that every weekend, it would be completely different. Probably
Exactly.
be in jail more than I would be racing, but I would have done it as much as I could.
So when did the light bulb go off in your head to say, I'm getting after that? I'm fuck it. I'm going all the way, because I did not see a transition from streetcar to where it is now. You know, there's something in between. You know,
Yep.
I personally didn't see it. That car to me, because I'm sort of a layman in this world, went from being because I met you at Bowling Green. I met you at one of the
Yep.
NMRE races.
Yep.
I saw it from being a twin turbo stick car that was getting it. And then it became this, like in a year, like you came out of nowhere seemingly and just dropped your balls on people and said, fuck it. And you broke records. Like, when did you say, fuck it, I'm going all the way with this thing, or you know, we'll see what happens?
So I actually messed this interview up with the Racing Channel, and I don't know if you can actually name drop other channels or whatever.
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
During the Racing Channel with what's his name, Xavier? What's it?
I think so. Mm-hmm.
Sorry if I fucked that up, but
Javier. It's either Javier or Xavier, one of those two.
Yep, it is. It's Javier. I'm just super white dude that doesn't know how to pronounce those dark skin names. That was not racist. I meant that politely. I messed this up in the interview, and I said at Texas 2K in 2018, and this is how this sped up everything, is because at a LS Fest here in Bowling Green, I met Jonathan Atkins. Jonathan Atkins introduced me to Monster Clutch. That relationship didn't go very far, and it wasn't no fault to anybody's. It was just where I was in life and racing. It just didn't work out.
Gotcha.
And I wasn't educated enough to do what I was trying to do at that level. I wasn't. I had no idea what the fuck it took to go that fast, and it was unrealistic to my goals, to what I was trying to do. Showed up at Texas 2K. Long story short, I didn't even get to race, make a pass, because my clutch wouldn't engage and disengage.
Okay.
And it was very discouraging, because I spent $4,000 round trip entry fees, and a guy that's no longer alive, actually Rich Homer from Majestic Motorsports, he gave me his passes and let me park in his VIP parking at Texas 2K. And I didn't even get to race. And you know what? I was just pissed off at me. I was pissed off at everybody, pissed off at every company I ever could think of. And I made that decision there that I'm either going to stop doing this, or I'm going to fucking do it the best that I could do. And that's probably not even good English when it comes to that. But what built up to that is me and Ben Stoner were going at it to be the first one in the eights. And then I'm the first one out the bat, fucking big dick swinging at Texas 2K, and I didn't even make a fucking pass. I ran some of the dudes at midnight, one gear at a time, because I couldn't change gears on the street, but I wasn't able to make a pass.
Got it.
And you know, it hurt.
All good.
It was my bar manager, and he said, "I'm sorry to say this." And I was like, "It's never good when we're open." Scares the fuck out of me. So me and Ben Stoner go at it. We're trying to be the first one, and Ben is the most professional. I don't even know how to explain it, and I'm still learning. I partied with Jeremy and the long bearded dude that nobody ever knows his name, but he's an awesome guy.
John, I think it is.
Yeah, John. I partied with John and Jeremy at PRI with
what you mean party? Because that's a loose term nowadays. You know, party is drinking, just hanging out, chilling. Because when you say party in South Florida, it's like everything.
Well, we're PRI, so I'm actually going to spill the beans on a couple companies, because this is actually pretty fucking funny. And make sure you put this on there, because this is the first night, so we went up Tuesday or Wednesday, dropped my car off. So me and two buddies went and dropped the car off. Eat at St. Elmo's. I thought my fucking hair was going to catch on fire. I don't know if you've been to PRI and ate at St. Elmo's, but the shrimp with the fucking bullshit, what's that horseradish stuff? You feel like your face and your beard's going to melt off your face for like 2 seconds. We did all that on Monday and Tuesday. Dropped the car off, set it up, and whatever sponsors want to finish setting up the car. I went back to Bowling Green because it's only a 3-hour drive. Went back to Bowling Green, so we come up Thursday. I come up without my wife because she's a school teacher, a high school teacher here, and so she came up Friday. So everybody goes out Thursday, and me and Bobby and the guys that are with my team, they're tired, and I was actually hanging out with Fast Forward Race Engines and Brett and Jim and all them. We're drinking, having a good time, and they're like, "Hey, we want to go back to the room." I was like, "I'm just gonna hang out with them and shoot the shit." Night's wrapping up, at bars closing. I had a little bit too much to drink. My phone freaking dies. I don't even know where the damn hotel's at. Next thing you know, I'm running into Jarrett Rosin and Steve Giles on the street. And of course, I was acting like an idiot. And I was like, "Jarrett, you own Lethal?" I was like, "That has to be like a badass Mustang place." It's like, I've been thinking about getting into Mustangs, and he's been had a little bit to drink, and he's entertaining. He's like, "Oh man, I can help you out. I got all these salesmen and shit." And some dude fucking running across the street goes, "Joel." I was like, "Damn it!" And Jared looks at me, he's like, "You piece of shit." So I ended up hanging out. I did end up finding my hotel later that night, but I have no idea how I got on the subject.
It's all good. It's all good. About PRI, we talked. I don't know if we got about PRI, but we started talking about the decision to get to the car, and then we kind of just trailed off into talking about PRI.
Oh yeah. Ben Stoner. We were partying with Fat Fab.
Yep. Fat
So
yep.
we were just partying at one of the bars. It was that night. We ended up at the bars with them, and they're just good people, good professional. Jeremy, John, Ben, the shop. Little backstory on how I actually backstory on getting introduced to Ben. There's a shop in North Carolina that screwed a lot of people over to the point where I actually stole a car out of the shop for one of Ben Stoner's customers. We went back, and the car got delivered to Fat Fab, and that's how I kind of met the whole shop and seen a walk through their shop that they had. They've moved recently, and I mean, it's badass. Jeremy is a badass fabricator, very humble, and I didn't know how to take the transition from Ben racing that car to Jeremy racing that car, right. But I understand it. Ben starting a new family, built a badass house. He has a couple other businesses that he does. I get it. And then I started getting pretty close with Jeremy. And long story short, Ben beat me to 8s. I kind of skipped the 8s and went straight from 9.2 to 7. Yep. And Jeremy and Ben, they still do the street car stuff. That new Fox body that they're building is going to be a bad bitch for what it is. And I can't wait for him to come out and do whatever he's going to do. So that's how we got in from Texas 2K, when I say, you know what, I'm going to fucking strip this thing. I sold everything off the car. If I'm going to do this, I want to go fast. I'm not going to get paid to do this as a profession, but if I'm going to do it, I'm going to actually quit wasting my time. And a lot of people get tied up, and I understand it's a way of life. They get tied up into, oh, I'm just going to make this excuse to call this a street car because I can't afford to fucking make this car not a street car, make it a race car. And you know what? And this will go into some of the drama shit that's going on. And I used to be maybe one of those people. And the difference was I made my mind up at Texas 2K in 2018. I'm not fucking going to waste my own time anymore. And I'm not about spending money 3 times because I wanted to keep I was I had advantage because I had a Boss motor. So I mean, those things. I literally ran a stock Boss motor with ARP 2000 everything, and 0304 Cobra rods to 1250 horsepower for 2 years straight.
Oof. Wow.
14 degrees timing and 26 pounds of boost for 2 years, and that thing never failed me. We took it apart at Rich Homer's shop because I sold it to him. He said, "Look, brand new."
Badass.
And
So what you're saying is a lot of people use the excuse that their car is a street car so that when they enter an event, and it's a full race car. It's a fucking mini tub, front half, back, whatever. Do you think that's like a cop out that they start saying, oh, a street car, but they really have race car shit in it? Or are you saying that people use the excuse of, oh, I don't got the money to build that badass motherfucker. My shit is still street. Like which one do you mean by that?
well, there's 3 different subjects in this, in what you just said. You got the micro record dude that well, I ran it with my stock firewall, stock struts. I actually got a lug nut that came on it from the fucking factory. You got that dude, and then you got the guy that just didn't want to still drives this thing to work and didn't want to make it a race car. He just it's a multi-purpose car that happens to race it and break it every fucking weekend.
Okay.
And then you got the dude that actually is a true street car. And people, that term is a very grayed, loose area bitch fucking term. And I
you mean street
huh?
You mean the term street car?
Yeah. I mean, and I think Jonathan said it the best, or somebody in this. I don't even know if it was Jonathan. And I always give my wife shit, call her bougie and whatever else. I mean, she does have a badass car.
Why is she catching shrapnel?
Oh, she takes it best, but she drives a badass car, and I make her bougie. That's my choice, but I give her shit at the same time. But if you're not going to take your wife out and one kid on a date or a family outing in that car, guess what? I bet it's not a fucking street car.
Okay.
Just because you go to a Whataburger or fucking Burger King, or you just left the track and there's a trailer around the corner that you pulled that fucking car on, that doesn't make it a street car.
I agree.
And if you're competing against race cars, don't make an excuse that you fucking lost because it's a street car.
Yep.
And we get a lot of that shit because we're a new subject or a new class in all these big races. And we're going to start transitioning into, and of course I haven't even came up to what we did this year and what we did with the car, but that's where it's going to transition to why we're having this issue and how promoters are there to make money. It's called promoting a business. Either it's their own or they're promoting somebody else. And out of all people, you should know that more than anybody because you fucking do really good at it. I don't even know what your following is now, and then you have numerous.
It's not massive, but the people that I do have are very in tune into the Mustang world. So that's why I wanted to have you on specifically. So let me ask you. So who do you like? Okay, when you made the decision to get after it 100%, chassis, rear end, trans, like everything that was outlined in that vehicle, where do you start? Like, where do you start going, okay, I want to build the baddest stick shift motherfucker on the planet. Where the hell do you even start? Who do you contact? What do you do to build the baddest motherfucker around?
Well, like I said previously in this, I was uneducated and I did not know how dirty this world was when it comes to racing. A guy that did previous work on my car, he was in the Marine Corps, and he knew how to make. He knew, actually, it's right here. He knew how to, and this is nothing to do with the person that made this because he's a badass welder, but he knew how to make 2 of these things that are dimes into one, and knew how to what. He had no idea what a fucking race car was, and I learned the hard way, and I got fucked over. I ended up having to come. I had to go, and this was during transition from North Carolina to Kentucky. I ended up having to drive from Kentucky back to North Carolina, pull my car out. Took it to a shop here locally. Tried to mock up my trans in the motor, and couldn't get my trans. Oh, the trans was already in there. Couldn't get my trans out. And,
What you mean? Couldn't get your trans out? Who couldn't get your
couldn't get
trans
it
out?
out. I could.
You? Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
I couldn't get it back out of the bars that this dumbass fucking welded in there.
Oh shit, gotcha.
So I called the guy that was working on it, and I said, "What do you think about cutting this fucking cage completely back out?" And it's pretty much, it was 80-90% done. And I already paid a bill at that place, and it was a normal fucking chassis shit show, wannabe bullshit, and cut it completely out. Thought about putting on a pallet, deliver it to his doorstep with a huge black dildo on there, and said "fuck you," and that's how bad it was. So we ended up building it from scratch, and ended up being that, and ended up making it a 25-3 dual railed 3/4 chassis.
Okay.
To be completely honest with you, I didn't even know what a fucking 3/4 chassis was until all this drama shit came out. But
well, let's just say, for the sake of editing, you've had multiple, hands in the build process of this vehicle.
yep, yeah, and I did, and we made it a 25-3 dual railed. When it went from streetcar, so there was two different modifications. So the first year it came out wasn't this year; it was the year prior.
Right.
And we set the Coyote record, and at that time, that was the only thing that was really on my vision, that we're gonna be the fastest Coyote. And
Yeah, because
to be honest,
you had an amazing 2020. Like, I must admit, it was either late 2019 or early 2020. Oh, sorry, 2021. You had an amazing 2021 from what I saw. So you said, okay, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you said you went after the Coyote record, and then at what point did you say, shit, I might have more in this motherfucker?
no, so that was 2021. What you're talking about?
Oh,
I'm talking about 2020.
okay,
So
gotcha.
when we originally were building this car, I wanted to be the fastest NMRA True Street stick shift. And that's actually how I met you, was in line with True Street when it was a gaggle fuck because of the rain. We sat there for 17 hours,
It was
got one
awful.
pat. Like, you could have fucking put it, by the time you sat there, you could have actually built a pro mod in the fucking stage lanes before the fucking got rain. That's how I met you, was
Yep.
in that line. And actually, I think that's when you met Ben also,
Yes.
in that same
Yeah.
because he was a couple cars behind us. But whatever. And that's what I built it for. I wanted to be a true street. I wouldn't say streetcar, but a true street stick shift H pattern, the top 8 that they were running at the time. In the middle of the build, the rules changed, and actually that weekend that you met me is when they were outlawing the fucking optic armor bullshit. I was the head of that they disqualified me. Anthony Hurd almost got a fucking fist fight in the staging lanes. It was a whatever. And then all of a sudden, January 1st, it's legal. You can have optic armor windows.
Get out. Oh my God.
So that's what I originally built the car. It had a radiator. It was running on E98, Ignite E98. It was a street car, or not a street car. I could drive it 30 miles, and I could compete in whatever those events. Well, winter comes along. We couldn't get the fucking 3-link to work, and it was rolling, and we had the anti-roll bar on there or whatever. It's like, fuck it, we're going to cut this out. We're going to put a 4-link in it, and we're going to make it work. So that was the end of 2020. I think we went a 750 or a 767. I don't even remember what we did in 2020. It was 750 at 180, 87, 86 at FL2K.
Mm-hmm.
Motor didn't survive because one of your fucking close engine builders there doesn't even know what a fucking motor is, and you can put that in there.
I remember.
You can put that in there and tell it's a piece of shit. And I don't know how the fuck he's got a company.
I mean, I'll bleep that because I don't want to get that.
Yeah,
but I know the motor builder you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But that's a whole nother subject. But
Right.
So I only made FL2K that year, and I ran a 750 whatever, and then got put out first round because Agronis actually scared the shit out of me how he staged, and I broke my throttle and ended up leaving on 2 pounds of boost. And
Oh, gotcha.
yeah, I mean, when I say scared the shit out of me, he scared me to death. At 2020 FL2K when he staged, I think he was doing a wheelie through the pre-stage, landed in the deep bulbs, and I hadn't even had time to work on my staging game or any kind of shit, and I fucking just mad at these pedal and I broke it. But it stayed down, and the cable was still pulling. I was like,
Okay.
fuck it, we'll make this pass. I left on 2 pounds. He spun. I ran an 870. He ran an 840, which was slow for both of us, and he won, and I was out first round. And ended up getting rained out after that, or whatever. So that was 2020. We come back. We changed the 3-link to a 4-link. Lightened up the car. Yeah, I think my race weight was like 3,100 2020.
Okay.
My race weight in 2021 was at the beginning of the year was 2760.
What?
And
Wow.
my race weight at the end of the year was right at, depending on the scale, and even on the same scale, depending on who was eating a cheeseburger next to it, I was at 2790 to 2800.
How? I mean, I know how, but holy shit. Like that's super impressive. Now, let's get into the when shit's really started cooking. Because you went from being that guy who had, motor issues and chassis stuff and then twin turbo Hellion car blah 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 to being scary, consistent 6-second stick shift car. Like I've never seen, like, you see like the Grandises, the Grub Worms of the world, they'll run a 720, 7.0, then they'll, spin or whatever. Your shit was like your worst pass. If you hit a limiter, it'd be like a 90, an 80, or 89 or 0 or 7.0. So at what point did you really start dialing in that program where shit was just like, bro, even if I miss a shift, this bitch is going to run a 7.0? What got you to that point? Was it tuning? Was it the engine? Was it, the motor builder? Was it just figuring everything out from the suspension and things? How did all that come about?
Okay, so when we brought the car out this year, first time bringing it out, or not this year, so 2020, when we brought the car back out 2021, it was Streetcar Takeover Bowling Green. And they did they do their Friday night stuff, and I ended up running a 722 at 200 miles an hour. And when I left, the car twisted so bad that I almost flipped it on its passenger side. Didn't have an anti-roll bar on there. There was a bunch of errors on the chassis, and I was just an uneducated person that was the driver. And funny story is Gronis actually texted me that night on Facebook, said, "You're coming after me." And I told him, I said, "Well, you better turn that billet block all the way the fuck up, because he ain't going to outrun me." That was actually word for word whatever the message was. So that happened at Streetcar Takeover Bowling Green. It's my birthday weekend, August, the first week of August. And we come back, I drained my oil, and I had all kinds of black plastic in my oil. And of course, TKM builds my motor. They are the best. They are the best human beings that you'll ever meet. And Kevin is probably the hardest working person you'll ever meet. So I messaged him. I said, "Dude, I got black plastic in my oil. But there's only a couple pieces in there that are plastic." And I was like, I'm taking off the valve cover. And sure enough, there's a secondary timing chain guide, and ate completely up. It was the metal piston prong was in my chain. So I got real lucky I didn't break it. And kind of find out I was running methanol, because it's a methanol car, and just the lack of what I was not doing between runs to keep the water out of the oil and at the time I was not running Renegade's oil, I was running another oil, and it wasn't compatible with methanol. It was breaking it down, and it was diluting it, and it was a recipe for disaster. So we pulled the motor, sent it back to TKM, put some badass fucking timing chains that RGR has, and we put the whole timing setup on there. Put it back in the car. I do a private track rental, and I I almost hurt myself real bad. This is the point where you start thinking about, I got 4 kids and a wife.
Oh, wow. You have 4
Couple,
kids. Wow.
yeah, couple businesses, and I almost got hurt real bad due to negligence of a tack weld, not a complete weld, and almost it. And I went, and granted, I went 200 miles an hour on this same tack weld that held my
Steering shaft?
nope, the fuck is that? Brain fart.
This?
Yeah, right there. It goes to my driver's wheel right over there. Tie rod. So we
Okay.
had to shorten tie rods, and I had a tack. So when you can't butt weld something when it comes to something like that. So you had to put a sleeve over it. Well, this part of the sleeve was completely welded. This one had a tack weld, small of its grown as a dick, so
Wow.
this big, and it broke during our private track rental that we were at in Crossville, Tennessee. And thank God that I was not on a good pass, and it broke, and it fucked whatever is going to fuck up, but I didn't hit the wall. I didn't flip because my 8th mile times are 160, 170 miles an hour. And we were at an 8th mile track, and it broke.
Wow.
So at that time, I was like, I think I'm done for the year. Like, I don't want to die in this car, whatever. And the current chassis builder had COVID. His health conditions weren't really good, and I didn't know what to do. I was good friends with him, and it just was a horrible situation. He's in the hospital. I didn't know what to do, and I called numerous shops, and I wanted to race, and I called numerous chassis builders, and they said, call the guy that's right around the corner. And I called Billy Webb, and he's the one. He builds all Hammerby Ham's design rear end. He actually is the one that builds the rear ends and helps him and it built work of art. And I've met him a couple of times. Yeah.
Legitimate work of art. Like the stuff he does is like stupid.
And I've never had any relationship, never given him any money, do any work, never just said hi, bye. I met him at Walmart 7 o'clock one morning and seen he had a shit, what's that fab shop in fuck. Had a fab shop shirt on, and I said, that's a badass shirt. Where'd you get that shirt at? And this is 7 o'clock at Walmart in Bowling Green. You don't have the normal Walmart people. There's only 3 fucking people in this Walmart, and he had that. And ball metal fabrication shirt. It's a twin turbo titty shirt that they have.
Oh, gotcha.
That's a badass shirt. And we ended up talking, and that's my only relationship with him before this. And I called him up, and I said, you can tell me no. You can hang up the phone. I said, but my health is at risk driving this car. I don't want to get in it. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I need a second opinion. And will you come look at it? So I'll be there in 30 minutes. And I was like, what? He's like, I'll be there in 30 minutes. He didn't leave for 2 weeks.
No shit.
Yeah, so we redid the whole, at that time, kept the same rear end in it, but redid everything that held it. So changed the angles and everything, and redid the front, so where all the tie rod bullshit was going on, and made it safe. And I said, hey, we're going down to FL2K. And he was, and I don't know Billy, or at the time I didn't know Billy, but he seemed a little nervous about it. He's like, I usually work on cars when we go test, do private rentals and stuff like that. He's like, I'm a little nervous about this. I know my work's good, but he goes, I'm a motherfucker either way. So if you go out and do good, I did good. But if you go out and break something, I was the last person that worked on this, and it might be
bad, right? He doesn't want that on his
it's like, I was like, well, Billy, guess what? You're riding down with us. I'll fly you back. So he rode down to Florida with us. It was that Wednesday track rental they do at FL2K. And first hit I go out, or actually, timeout. Went to roll it out of the trailer, wouldn't move. And I was like, what the fuck? So what ended up happening was when it broke that tie rod, it bent my spindle.
Oh, no.
So when we got out of the trailer, we just got there Wednesday. We got there kind of late. It's 3 o'clock, and they're starting the rental at 3. and I have a fucking spindle bent. So I was like, Garrett, your shop's close here. I don't know where the fuck it is, Freedom Factory, whatever. Do you have anything I can bend this back with? So we ride over to his new shop, grab a fucking pipe, and we bend the spindle back, put the wheel on it, and ran the event. It was the most flawless event. So
Wow.
we make the first hit, spins the tires, and he's like, the video that we took, it didn't do anything in the front. He made one little adjustment on the front. We went 750, 730, 720, 17s, 70, 698, 695. And it was
Jesus.
all downhill from there when it comes to how fast that we were going. And,
So basically, after he stayed in your shop for 2 weeks, y'all rolled down the FL2K, one adjustment and a bent spindle back. That's how the car pretty much sat for most of its racing time throughout that year. No more chassis stuff was done?
no, we did. So we get back from Florida, and he comes back and works on. He's building numerous cars, and obviously building the rear ends for Hammer and doing some odds and end things. We get back, and I show up at my shop, and he's here. And he said, I was a little nervous about this whole thing, but I wrote down when you made your first pass on my little white old man notebook, because he's older and he's been in this game a while. He goes, I wrote down in 10 passes, this car is going to go sixes. I didn't realize that you're going to go sixes that fast. I don't feel comfortable with the setup that's in it. We need to put the rear ends that I build in it, or you're going to have an issue. So he came in between FL2K and World Cup, and this is, everybody thought I was fucking retarded. And every time I said this, they're like, you did what? We completely redid the whole back half of the car. So he goes in there, and my previous setup had I think they were 5/8 bolts.
Okay.
And the way that they do their stuff is they double weld to where, I forgot, I don't know what it's called, but the plates are they're double walled to where they can run 1/2-inch bolts. So you have numerous different adjustments instead of making your instant centers this, and then your instant centers this. Their instant centers this, and you got right there, and then that changed your instant center to my previous setup was this far apart at the rear end, and then goes into the body. And then my new setup was this far apart. That's why, like, if you look, and you'll see this car come out sometime this year by a very reputable racer that I sold it to.
100%.
You'll see that the rear end is literally in the middle. It's this far off the ground.
Right.
So that makes the angles a lot wider, and it makes it less drastic when you're trying to find that instant center and the height. So he does all that and puts that work of art in there, and we basically just cleared it. I didn't worry about it. We just cleared it. It was powder coated and cleared, and then I think actually we'd even paint some of the other bars. We just left it in there, and we went to World Cup. And
Dude, it worked. It worked. And then that car went there. Now, when I say dominant, because a lot of people would say, well, the car didn't win. That doesn't look dominant to me means a car runs similar stuff. Racing's racing. Anything can happen during racing. But the car was deadly consistent. What was the best number you ran at? I think you broke the record at World Cup, correct? The H pattern stick shift record.
Yep. So I'll explain. You want me to explain the week or the weekend at World Cup?
Whatever you want to do, because look, the magic's in the editing.
Okay, so yeah, and this is nothing against Victor. At FL2K, we had a light malfunction, and after seeing some videos and shit, my car didn't move. But I ain't gonna say it didn't vibrate. Everybody, Wesley Evans made a video with Second Shift Racing. I think was it Second Shift?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, he made a video with Second Shift and explained how beams work, and then I still didn't believe it after all this stuff talking about, and I know my car didn't move. Cletus or Garrett, whatever you want to call him, he knew it didn't move so much that he told me in the track, something's fucked up. I definitely left it for you. We'll make it right.
Okay.
And we ended up making bullhorns just to eliminate our room for air if my flames did trip it.
Okay.
I know that it didn't because I've ran 2 years with those same fucking pipes at that track. I know for a fact that it wasn't that. But we made bullhorns. But what we didn't realize what we did with a methanol motor is we made a water trap without a seal for World Cup. It took 3 passes with a lot of cameras to figure out what was going on. I've never had traction issues. Just like I said, we went to FL2K. Billy made one adjustment on the front, and we were beelining straight, making good passes. But at World Cup, I kept spinning at the top of first, and then I short shifted to second and spin and then take off.
Okay.
Well, I kept looking at videos like something's wrong. And Billy always preaches, it's probably not the chassis. If you haven't changed the chassis, don't blame the chassis. Find out what the fuck it is. So I'm doing everything that he has said. I'm looking through it. Something with the boost controller. I've made a fucking mistake on the clutch. Let me look at these videos. There's something wrong. Well, I ended up slowing this video down at one of the 36 fucking Taco Bell runs that we made going from the track back to our Airbnb. And I see that when my back tire replaces my front tire, it spins every time. So what it was, my bullhorns were leaking water right in front of my front tires as soon as my back tires went over it. So all those 7.0, 7.1, 7.2s at 200, I was spinning in first and second, and then it would take off and I'd run whatever I was running.
Right.
The first pass that we figured it out on was the pass against Gross. And you couldn't ask for a better way to break the record, a better way to figure out what the fuck you've been fucking up that weekend. You couldn't ask for a better scenario. And I'll never forget this, and I hope this paints the picture of what this is going on. Prior to this, Granus was the person that had the target on his back. And the first time I ever talked to Granus was in 2020 at FL2K. And one of his staging guys stepped on the pre-stage. He put his foot on the second stage, took it off, and I'm double staged.
Oh.
And that was a qualifying run. So I've never talked to Granus. I'm a fucking nobody. I'm that fucking cheerleader that says, oh, I'm going to run y'all in a couple of years, and I'm that bitch. And then his dude does this pre-stage and double stage, stepping on it.
So you see a guy on your side of the lanes, meaning you see one of his guys on your side step on
No. He does it on his car. So we're in the staging part, and he's trying to wave up him. That's how he stages them. It's the guy that stages them every time. He puts his foot on the first bolt, pauses, put his foot on the second bolt, pauses, and I stage my car. This isn't qualifying, so it doesn't even fucking matter. But I double bulbed him in qualifying.
Okay.
He takes his foot off. I'm in, and he hadn't even lit the first bulb yet. So out of I don't want anybody to come after me. And my first experience in ever saying anything to Granus was we make the run. I think I ran a 770 or something. We make the run. He doesn't have a good pass. That pass, I walked straight up to his window and I said, "My name is Joel. I want you to know that your guy fucked you on the tree. I didn't double bulb you. He stepped on him. Have a good day." That was the first time I ever talked to him. And then we talked a couple times at that event a little bit, but that was the first time I ever talked to him. And then going back, fast forward to 2021 at World Cup, it's cold as fuck. Everybody's trying to keep everything warm. I had bead locks that were leaking like a son of a bitch because Joe Biden wanted to make Mickey Thompson's tires thinner than they were supposed to be whenever they went from the 0.80 bead width to the 0.4 to 0.5, and everybody has bead locks that leak.
Mm-hmm.
So we're losing like drastic amount of air, and we didn't figure this out until we're on the way up to the staging lanes. Right. And we didn't know what it was. We thought our wheels were wrong and all this bullshit. We didn't really know. We found out the next day. So, and this was in the 1320 video that was made, but we're coming up there. It's cold, and I remember I was warm, of course, in my 20 suit sitting in the car and brought us in. And the way that World Cup is, you got a big divider in the car. You can't even see the car. It's on the far left lane. And all I seen was 2 of his crews coming through with bottle heaters, propane bottle heaters. Like, oh, hell yeah, this is going to be a hellacious run. Because I already knew that I was going to go fast. We figured out why I wasn't getting traction. The car's going to go down the fucking track. And I said, well, we're going to run a 670 to 690. It's going to be a good race. And I remember looking up in the stands and be like, you realize that it's like 20 to 30 degrees out and these stands are completely packed. Everybody's standing on their feet. I was like, that's pretty badass. And I mean, that's not the first time that I've been in a spotlight scenario where people are standing. Played baseball pretty much my whole life and whatever. I mean, it's not the first time it's happened, but I stopped and said to myself, wow, those people are out there standing on their feet, ready to watch these fucking badass cars going down the track. I can't wait to beat his ass. So we roll up to the staging, and I purposely made sure that I didn't make the same mistake that I made in 2020 at FL2K. I didn't care if I broke a secondary timing chain. I was not going to let him fuck me on the way. So I rolled in. I stayed on the 2-step longer than you would usually stay on 2-step, flames throwing, and we left, and it was a flawless run. And we get to the other end of the track, and he comes out, and of course he's got that look on his face like, that was fast. He's like, my draggy said I went a 7.0 and you were way out in front of me. I don't know what you ran, but it was fast, and congratulations if it was the record. And then of course his crew comes down there and tell him what I ran, and he was the first person that congratulated me. And that means a lot. I mean he's the guy that's holding the record. I'm racing him. World Cup is where usually he breaks his record. That means a lot. And I have a lot of respect for that person. There was no drama. At the time, there was no reason for there to be drama. He's just the dude that had the record. And he's been on the top of the game for the longest time. And congratulates me. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So, okay. So that's a good segue. So he congratulates you because he was the top of the mountain forever. But okay, then let's just fast forward. You sell the car potentially, or was the beef about chassis stuff with that car? Like all of a sudden, just for the people that don't know or aren't aware, something came up on Facebook, some kind of chassis drama where your car or a car you were building, one of the two, was not considered a legal car, and someone mentioned the word pro mod, and we know what a pro mod is. So if you can get into that a little bit.
Okay, so there was a lot that happened between what you just said and before that. So what actually happened, and everything that he has said on the internet is not a lie. Might be a little out of text, but not a lie. And I will never call him a liar. I don't really give a fuck about the drama. But everything that he has said, and this kind of came to light last night on some shit that was posted. Robert Miller, the guy that had the flip phone that was video and all the shit. So Bobby and his 1920s flip phone, we're trying to register for Texas 2K. He's trying to register his car. I'm not going to register anything because I knew that my car, I'm selling it. And there's never been any issues with my car fitting rules. And this is where we're going to get into Outlaw stick shift guys didn't know there was fucking rules. And I had no idea that Jason Miller had rules for World Cup. Never looked at them. And I will tell you, my tech at World Cup lasted less than the guy took to write the fucking numbers on the window.
Okay.
So we didn't know that there was rules for that. It's a new class. We didn't fucking know.
Oh, yeah, you when you tech it, for those that don't know, when you tech at Texas 2K, they go, hi, bye.
Yeah, same shit. We had no idea, and everybody that does this, unless you ride this streetcar fucking bullshit train, nobody cares. Nobody fucking checks your shit. No, it doesn't matter. And like the 800 horsepower six shift car beats the 2000 horsepower six shift car all the time. Nobody gives a fuck. Well, Bobby tries to register the white car, which it won't be white next year. He's going to wrap it. It's going to be a fucking badass car. But, and they get a reply back from the Texas 2K admin, or it might have been Peter, say, you can't register this car. They made a new rule, and I get it. I support this rule, actually. You have to have a time slip in the current build 1050 or faster.
Oh.
Now the problem is a lot of people's first race is Texas. And that was the situation I was in. I'm building a fucking new car. I can lie. I can say, well, I'm going to register that red car because my new car's going to be red. It's going to be lowered. It's going to look identical. It's just going to be a hair lower, and it's going to go a lot faster. I could have been a dick, registered my old car, and it would have been a whole mess whenever I showed up at Texas 2K. But I didn't do that. So whenever Bobby said that he wasn't allowed to register that car, I messaged Peter on Facebook and I said, hey, dude, was made aware that you said that Bobby's car couldn't be registered in that class because he hasn't ran a 1050 or quicker. I said, I'm in a similar situation. I'm selling my car and building a new one. So we called Peter and I talked to him, and it's a good conversation. There's nothing, it was whatever. And basically going to make it to where not bending the rules by no means. He is very thorough on sticking by the rules because as a promoter, you don't want that shit to come back on you in the middle of the race.
Right.
Well, we get off the phone and I text him a picture of the front of my new car. And it's not done by no means. And at that time, it was a full chassis car. And that means tubes, bars. It's a full tube chassis car. Not a pro mod because it's not fucking extended. And a definition of pro mod is nothing to do with that. There's a big difference between a full tube chassis car and a pro mod. So I don't know where the fuck, actually I do, and I'm going to say that, how that got brought into this. It had nothing to do with Gronks. Absolutely zero to do with Gronks.
Okay.
And Peter texted me back 10 minutes later and said, you cannot race that car at my race. This was the day before Thanksgiving. That was the text message. And I replied back, why? And he said, it doesn't fit the spirit of the class. And I replied back, damn. So from Wednesday of that week till Monday, I'm fuming. And I knew this was going to come. I've had numerous conversations with Wesley Evans. I've had numerous conversations with Jonathan. I've had numerous conversations with other people that race this class. There is going to become a time that we have to come up with a structure because it is new and we're going too damn fast. Mm-hmm. It is not the promoter's job to figure this out. It is a stair step to make it to where we are at now, where we're at. And accidentally, this all came about. And I'm going to say it's a mistake because of where we're at right now, why we're having a little bit of this interview. I reached out to Jonathan. I try to reach out to Demon. I reach out to Nick Coleman. I reached out to as many people as I could because I knew that we had to come up with something to present to these promoters. Monday morning, I tried to get a hold of Peter. I think I ended up getting a hold of Peter on Tuesday. Had a conversation with him. And if I'm a little wrong on verbiage and putting words in the mouth, I don't want that to happen. But long story short, Peter said in the conversation, why don't you make a post with some rules and see if we can divide the class? And I was like, Peter, you don't want me to make a post. I said, I don't want to divide Joel Steele against Texas 2K. I was like, that'll end badly. It already happened earlier on in the year with some other people. I don't want to do that. And he said, well, why don't you come up with these rules and I'll post it? I was like, well, that will work. Okay. You as a promoter, and we help out because the classes need to evolve and rules need to be able to separate. Because if I was an 11-second stick shift racer, a 9-second stick shift racer, there's no way in hell I'd want to race a 6-second or 7-second racer. So during that, I asked Peter, I told him, I didn't ask him, I told him, I said, do you realize that the 19 or 21 or 25 people that were registered at World Cup would race your Outlaw stick shift at Texas 2K? And then you can have a whole other pot of money, people to race the street class.
Mm-hmm.
Because in previous years, they just let people go out and qualify and split the class. In reality, what that does is let the person that knows that he's not the fast, but it's got a pretty fast car, just let off the throttle. Let's try to fucking qualify in the back half of the field. And let's see if we can get a fucking trophy and some money. And I'm 100% against that. I hate that. I'm not a sandbagging. I hate that. And I was like, you can't, we got to separate it from the get-go. And that's where we started he's like, why don't you come up with a set of rules? Numerous people came together, wrote a very lengthy set of rules for street cars, because you have to write them for imports. You got to write them for domestic. You had 96 inches or less with the wheelie bars. There's a lot of rules for the street. And what we were trying to do is make their own class as fair as it can be, and then let your nuts hang, run what you brung, outlaw stick shift. Nobody fucking cares. Have an outlaw class.
Right.
Well, I sent the rules to Granus, didn't hear anything back. First thing I hear back is a post on Granus Racing with a meme with had Trump in it. I'm actually going to look this up.
So that's the first time you heard anything
from that week. He didn't work with us because it was originally, I was reaching out to him for respect that he pays the bills and sponsors the big races.
Okay.
There was two reasons why I reached out to him. And Peter said he had no influence on it, but I wanted to hear it out of Granus' mouth. Do you help make the rules? Do you have any influence on the rules to the classes for Outlaw Stick Shift?
Mm-hmm.
Peter said no. Granus said no. Well, that's it. I believed it. I still believe it a little bit. And that was the end of that. So we moved on from that conversation to let's help us make these rules. Where do you stand? And I asked him, where do you see stick shift racing in the future? And just like Peter, I get it. I've mentioned Rich Homer's name numerous times. He's been a supporter of Texas 2K since 2001. He's a super dude, super guy. He was a sponsor for that race every year. And Peter said, the reason why your car doesn't fit the spirit of the class, it started as a street car race, and it's evolved to this and that. And of course, in the back of my mind, you got cars out there running 5s, 6s, 7s. It's not a fucking street car race anymore.
Right.
Like, I get it. No asses in the seat. Pre-entry fees make races work. And that's where we're coming up with the rules to make sure it doesn't short him on entry fees. And I told him I think we could double it. So you have your outlaw guys and you got your street car guys. I think the entry fees could be double. It's a dead set class. You already have a free fucking winning earnings for the fast dudes. You got one for the street guys. If those street guys think they're fucking competitive out there, step up. You can win more money in this class.
Right.
And the first thing I see is a fucking meme on Granus Racing about basically, and that's where the pro mod thing came up. And I think maybe Peter or Jason might have said something. We used the verbiage pro mod, but it wasn't a big deal until Granus comes out, makes this thing on Granus Racing, and that in 2025, stick shift race is going to be a pro model, whatever. I let that one go. And I had my wife literally told me, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're not saying anything on this? I said, no, we're working on this. I don't want to ruin anything. And everybody likes to poke on Facebook and social media, whatever. And I honestly thought that's what it was. And I was like, babe, I can't come back and say something or get tempered on this and fuck up the relationship that I have to make these rules at Texas 2K and whatever, World Cup. Well, 2 days later, a day later, another one comes out. He's sitting on a ladder. There's 2 nitrous bottles behind him. He's got these big slicks, and it's basically he's posting something that he's on a rail with an H pattern transmission.
So he's starting to poke now.
And
It's
I
not even like
yeah.
it's not even like tongue in cheek. Now he's doing multiple poking.
Yeah, and I fucking lost it. I went back to just fuck you. Like, you're gonna do this shit, I'll spill the beans, and I just lost it. Came at him, said whatever the fuck I said, and everything I said needed to be said. So I'm not taking back anything I said. Fuck it. And everything I said last night on there, because there's a bunch of shit that went on there last night, and I screenshotted the conversations between us, and I said, it's ironic that you and Peter and I still kind of think this, that you have no influence on the rules, but I'm a businessman. Like, I am not an idiot. If you're giving $10,000 to a pot, put your name Gronus Racing on it, no matter what, even if it's just a smart ass comment or a meme on Facebook, you have an influence at that race that you sponsor. You're racing at it. You're paying it. If there's a color fucking orange behind it, it has something to do with you at that race. And in that conversation, it said that, well, we come up with these rules and I can recommend things. And then I was like, well, that's very contradicting. And then I posted that last night on a page, because I signed on Haltech this year, and they're doing all my computer stuff this year. And I made a picture on my Facebook page of a Haltech screen box, and I had a 7-bar package on it. And I put on there, how many pounds of boost has somebody put through a 7-bar? And of course, somebody comments on there, and I tag Jonathan, and this is just poking fun, and I do it all the time. I said, how many Gronus killers can this push? And of course, I did poke the bear, and he came back with something, and then it sparked everything back up. And
do you think stuff like that? Because look, there's beef, then there's friendly rivalries, then there's rivalries that actually help the sport. At the end of the day, when you see the back and forth and try to look at it from the outside looking in, and I know we get emotional when we're in it, do you think that helps the sport, or do you think that hurts it in such a way? I know what I think, but I'm wondering what you think, if the rivalry, and if you want to call it beef, actually helps the sport.
One or two things is going to happen. And
like, what I think is this is the way I look at it. So let's say there is no beef and everyone's shaking hands and getting along. To me, that's fake. Let's be honest. That is some fake bullshit where everyone's just like, you're a great guy. We shook hands. Congratulations. And then, he spent all summer trying to bust your ass, and he gets his ass busted. But when there's obvious beef, I don't like you, you don't like me, the respect is there. The respect at the track, the respect of what they've done is there.
Yeah.
I do like seeing two guys that hate each other race. I really do. It seems to work for many.
You're going to see a lot of it in 2022. But
I like that. So what do you think? Do you think it's just something that's going to, are you the type of guy that gets motivated by stuff like this? Like when someone says you can't do it, you're going to go, oh yeah, watch this. And then you come back and it's motivation. Whereas if everyone's getting along and everything's good, you wouldn't really push the envelope so hard.
Okay. So I'm going to go, this is a 2-part answer. I'm going to go into one or two things that's going to happen in Outlaw stick shift. And I hope the first one happens. So the first thing is going 6 seconds, 7 seconds, even 8 seconds in a H pattern stick shift car puts asses in the seat. It puts followers on a fucking Facebook or YouTube or whatever the hell people show these races. And it gets that person that has that fucking glide or the 400 in there to put a T56 back in that car because damn, that looks cool. They just don't realize how much of a headache it is to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
I hope that it opens up the eyes to people like Peter and Jason actually doesn't, and Jason and the rest of the promoters that have races. And we're actually going to put on our own stick shift race or compilation of races. And I will be a part of that at Bowling Green. That'll be coming up in 2023.
Got it.
It won't, and we're trying to work with Donald Long on some things to run Outlaw stick shift at Ducks races, and it'll one or two things. It'll either wake up the people that are already working on these classes, meaning it's already at their race, to be like, well, there's 10 cars right now that are being built that it would be called pro mods.
Okay.
And I'm talking like badass fucking cars. 7 seconds is probably going to be slow to these cars. They'll make a mistake and run a 7-second pass. So you have all these people, and these dudes have been building these cars for a couple years. So you got these guys that put $200,000 into a car. And all of a sudden, because we accidentally stumbled upon, at the time that picture, me not having a firewall, and it woke up all this fucking bullshit, these dudes just wasted all their money. Now, we're not building a car for one race. We're not building a car for 2 races. The type of people are A personality type people. And I can't say men because Noonan, she's a bad girl. And I don't mean that in a weird way. She likes racing. We had some conversations at PRI. She knows racing. And she's doing some cool shit. Can't wait to see it in 2022 or 2023, whenever it's going to come out. It's type A personalities that don't give a fuck about rules. And when all this came out and all this is being said, I didn't even know there was rules at World Cup. And numerous people that I talked to didn't either. I went back and found the rules, screenshot the rules at the time, screenshot the rules at Texas 2K at the time. Granted, they've changed since then.
Got it.
And we don't get into this to race an NMRA event. If you want to race an NMRA event with all these fucking rules and you fucking travel around the United States for 10 races, go do that. That's your thing. I'm not taking anything away from it, but that's not us. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden, now everybody wants these fucking rules. I'm not saying Granus wanted these rules, but he doesn't agree, and he has said it, and I've got messages that he said it, and he has said it numerous times in comments, rebuttaling against these dudes that are bashing him on he's the one that's setting these rules, which is not true. I mean, it's not. He's not. He is not the reason why all this came about. And it just trickled down, and then he made those 2 posts on Facebook, and now everybody's after him.
Got it.
And let there be outlaw stick shift with no rules. The rules are H pattern, 28 tire. If you got a wheelbase below 96 inches, you can have wheelie bars. That goes for the import dudes, or anybody wants to have an import chassis with the LS in it, whatever the fuck you want to do.
Right.
and it now it's becoming, that's the one thing that's going to happen. Either they're going to accept this and allow this class to grow, or they're going to fight back on it and allow that class to go to nothing. And then people like me or some other people will make their own fucking race, and nobody will race Texas 2K. Nobody will race these classes with outlaw stick shift because there's a lot of money. I mean, nobody's an idiot. Nobody's going to pour all this money into this stuff, and then all of a sudden they can't race.
Outlaw stick shift, doesn't that kind of mean everything you got? Outlaw. Like, you know, but I think what I don't understand the rule process when anything is named outlaw. When I go see outlaw shit or RVW or everything you got, here it is. It's just a tire restriction and H pattern, just, you know, 2 things, not necessarily anything else. That's when I run my ass to the fucking stands and see what's happening. So I understand now. Thanks for clearing up the situation, because I wasn't even aware of why this thing even happened, with how Grandis got involved, how Texas 2K got involved, and all this stuff. But now that that's clear, what are your goals with that car? Because you sold the car, you sold Constantine, she's gone. The motor is sold. Or are you going to reuse the motor? It was a Gen 1 everything car, right? A Gen 1 everything motor, heads, block, everything. You kept it? You sold it? What's the deal with the motor?
I still have it. That's actually that and the clutch is the only thing I still have from the old build. Haven't sold it. It's got filled heads, which kind of hurts me on the resale on it. They got everybody that wants, well, I want to drive this on the street, which is, they're going to waste their fucking time. But you can't do that with a Coyote. You can't do what I was doing with a Coyote and run no water.
Right.
And I did it for the first part of the year. It didn't work out. So I got filled heads. And that kind of hurts me on the sale. And I haven't really pushed it because I can't stand fucking dumbasses on the internet trying to beat you down on price, or I list a motor and they want to know what rear gear I got in the car. Like, fucking, I don't give a fuck. And like, I'm all about helping people out. I give a shirt off my back to anybody. But I still have that motor. We're not using anything besides the transmission from Tick. And so my transmission's built by Jonathan at Tick. It's got a PPG gear set in it. I'm gonna have to get a different input. So I'm going to a bigger can this year, and I'm dropping the hydraulics. We're gonna run a manual slave, and the only thing I'm keeping basically is the trans. So I will be running a S197 red stick shift car.
Okay.
It will be a dual rail, just like the last one. And now that all this shit came out, it will be a 3/4 chassis car.
Okay.
It originally was going to be a full tube chassis car, H pattern. But now it's going to be it's going to be badass. My goal for this car is to run 550s in the car. And everybody thought I was, even my own crew's like, did you really just say that in an interview at FL2K, the first interview of the year, that you're going to run 5s next year? Yeah, I am. And you asked the question about kind of personality and what this does and what drives you. The people that truly know me, and it's not a lot of people, and this last year kind of proved some of it. I might fail a couple times, but I guarantee you I'm gonna get that goal. And wrongfully, or what might skew that goal, is shit like that's just happened. And I posted on there. I said, Gronis, you're not gonna be able to start your car without seeing red next to it. I'm purposely gonna fucking pay somebody to make sure I know when you fucking idle your car and your car backs out of the pits. I will be next to it every qualifying pass. And don't fucking park next to me on the big M. And I mean that. That's the nicest way I can put it. And people that know me,
they know.
I mean that. And it's stupid. Like, that shouldn't be like that. That's fucking high school 20-year-old bullshit. But you know what? It's out there. I mean it. It's going to be I'm not even racing the first part of the year.
Okay.
My car is at an 80% chassis build right now. It's done. My motor will be back from TKM in a couple weeks. My can from Brow will be back next week, and it will be fitted. And our main focus at the beginning of the year is going to be Bobby's car. And it will hurt a lot of feelings. It will be a 6-second stick shift car. It should be a low 7-second car off a trailer. We'll run our 1050 time slip. We'll be entered in Texas 2K, and we will support. And we will run as fast as we can with that car. And then I'll bring my car out whenever I see fit. And it's going to do the same thing it did in 2021.
Just piss people off, you know. That car, seriously, that car and what you did in that year, honestly, from the outside looking in, every time I see something on Facebook, something on Instagram, I'm just like, that thing is ridiculous. And then I saw it in person at ModNats. And you know what blew me away about ModNats is that you weren't just going after the stick shift guys. You were going after the fucking king of the 4 valve. You were going after the fastest cars in the property, and you were not far off. You were like right there up against the king of the 4-valve shit. And that's what you could tell, that you were like, man, I wanted to get in there, man. So I'm not going to delve too much into mod nats, because, you know, a lot of people in the know, you know, saw you compete and did really well. But did you really want to just like, okay, eventually, do you want to make it so that you're entering events with guys that have glides and 400s and you're busting their ass with a stick? That
Yes. No. Yeah. That was the straightest, gayest thing I've ever heard in my life. But yes and no. So it depends on the event. And I had this conversation with 2 people today. And I didn't want to say this on there, but it might as well be said. I'm not a fucking idiot. You're defying odds by racing an H-pattern stick car. Do I think that people that have automatics are at a disadvantage from their 15 to 20% loss through a converter, through an automatic? Yes. Stick shift cars that are efficiently set up are in the positive on their power gain going down the track. Listen to my videos, listen to the race, and I'm not calling out Brett Lazal at all. He's a badass dude. I love him to death. But listen to our cars when we raced at FL2K. My power is in the positive. You can hear his power being choked out by a converter.
Mm-hmm.
It is unfair on adjustment because he can't take out his shit and change his stator real quick. I can make a clutch adjustment. That's why, I hate to say this, pro mods run Lenkos. Run fucking manual transmissions, because they have a set of nuts, and there's enough people throughout the years that know how to adjust those clutches to make them run better. I'm all about outrunning automatics. It gains a lot of attention. It proves that you're faster, and that everybody in this day and age thinks an automatic, which that's why there's 6 speeds, 8 speeds, 10 speeds. And it's supposed to be what's faster. I don't want to come out and do that, because that's where you start getting into, what am I building a car for? When you build a car at this caliber, you don't take shortcuts, and you hopefully don't throw a lot of money away. So I'm not going to go in here and get disqualified from all these fucking races and run no time a small tire, which is legally gambling racing.
Yes.
and you can go in it at a disadvantage. That's a stupid business move. And it's not my goal. If I have to do that a little bit, I will. And I'm sure I can outrun a lot of people, and I can do all kinds of publicity stunts with very fast automatic cars and probably make a lot of fucking money. But no, that is not the goal of the car. I would love to race Outlaw stick shift just like everybody else wants to race it. When you are at World Cup and you have, I don't even know how many fans were there on their feet, or how many fans are watching on Flow Racing, and how many people are there, or wherever they're watching it from. Nobody would ever go to the end of the track, spectator, racer, pit dude, and say, "Do you have a stock firewall on that fucking car?" You just went fucking 595 at 225 or 230. Is there a stock firewall? I'm going to call Henry Ford right now and ask him if that's his firewall. Nobody fucking gives a shit about that. And that's what it should go back to. And I'm all about silent racing. But this has crossed the line to where there's no going back on that. Mm-hmm. And it sucks. And you know what? Next year, guess who's allowed in my pit? My tuner, my fucking crew. Everybody else can stay the fuck out of my pit, and that's it. That's what it's going to go to. And I hate to be like that, but that's what it is doing. That's what this mistake of rules and mistake of registering. Nobody's allowed in there no more.
I don't blame you, because eventually you don't want to hear that from some fucking nobody that starts critiquing your build and starts going, "Well, it's fast, but it should be that fast. It's a tube chassis car, you know that. Then you build it if it's that fucking easy, dude. You know, it's ridiculous. You know, real quick, because I want to wrap it up and I want to make sure that because we could talk for hours and I can have you back on another time, no problem. If you don't mind me asking, roundabout number, how much money do you have into that car? If you don't mind me asking, I'm not trying to pocket watch, but I'm trying to see a
The
car that
the one in
caliber.
2021 or the one that I'm building?
Constantine.
Well, since I built it 3 times, it's a lot higher than it should be.
Okay. Are you into
I
the
can,
$300,000 range?
oh, it's definitely in the 2 to 3. Yeah. And you know just saying that and you put it in there, people are gonna be like, well, God, I hope it goes that fast. But and the reality of the money that was spent is because there's nobody out there figuring out how to go that fast in that H pattern stick shift.
Mm-hmm. It's
I've
all
got
one-off shit.
I've got boxes of gear sets that I shattered from a simple torque cut that didn't allow me to shift.
Oh, wow.
Now that's a very small piece of going down the track. But guess what? They didn't let me go to the next gear. I had to take that fucking transmission out, stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning to make the next race. People don't realize that's where all that money comes into to be able to get to that point, and that's why so many people quit. It is, if you want the easy way out, be a politician, suck Joe Biden's dick, or go automatic. You're the same fucking thing. So that's it's the same concept. And you're either going to spend a lot of money, figure it out for yourself. You want to be the top dog, or you're going to quit, go automatic, or you're going to sit back and run a class that is an index class.
Right.
And that's not what we do. And there's no fast stick shift racers that would ever do that. And it hurts that we're even talking about this subject, because I would never challenge anybody on what they have, because I can build 10 of the exact same cars I ran last year and put 10 different people on that. There's going to be a winner, there's going to be a loser, and there's going to be a 10th place person.
Mm-hmm. And
that's the reality of stick shift racing. An Evo, I think it was an Evo, won Texas 2K stick shift.
Subaru.
And I hate that I don't know I can't quote his name. He's probably going to fucking hate me forever.
He deserves to be recognized because he won Texas 2K stick shift.
He won Texas 2K. And I was helping out Chris Moore. I was helping out Jonathan. Hands down, should have won. Jonathan blew a seal on his AccuSump. Chris Moore was doing wheelies and backflips off the fucking line, crashed his car there. And it was awesome. I mean, not that he crashed his car, but the whole concept, like, that car should have never won.
Right.
But we're sitting here fighting over fucking rules that doesn't even matter. And I hope that it doesn't fuck this all up to where we can't just go out and race an outlaw stick shift, the reason why we all got into it.
No, I agree with you 100%, man. And I understand when you put it that way, I totally understand why you are, in the position that you're in. So to wrap it up, there are people that you have to thank, I'm sure. There are people that allow you to go racing, people that make it easy, people that help, people that probably don't even want to be shouted out. But, if you're okay with it, I'll give you the floor so you can thank whoever you want to thank to make Constantine possible and the next car possible and your racing hobby possible.
Okay, so 2021, I had a list of people and companies that made it happen. I got introduced to Jonathan at TKM Performance, and he openly shared information that if I was a competitor, I don't know if I would have shared it, to the point to where he actually became my tuner. So the LT Goddess, the LS fucking bashing coyote dude was the tuner on my car. He doesn't tune anymore. He builds badass fucking transmissions.
Mm-hmm.
But he was tuning my car because I knew that he was going to be at every race I was going to be at, and he was going to help me make my shit work. And I love Jonathan to death. He's helped me out more than he knows, as a mentor, as a company that I've spent money at, as his dad, is the grandfather to my kids when we go to the races. I always have kids with me at the race. I got 3 boys and a girl. And there's always at least 2 boys with me at every race, unless it's World Cup, when I'm glad I didn't take them to that race because there was no parking and we were no man's land down there. But
Yeah.
so Jonathan and Tick, last year I had Holly on board. When I first started this car, Holly was a big part. They're from Bowling Green, Kentucky. They did a lot. Matt Lunsford was the original, got it running. He was with us till we ran 722. He has a very important job at Holly, and that took a lot of his time. He was awesome. So I had to find another team. George at MGW, he's been with me since I was at Dumbass racing crotch rockets on the street. I actually drove one car to his shop in Georgia and he installed my MGW shifter and taught me a lot in his personal garage next to where he makes the shifters. Mm-hmm. His Scudo, where he has the Scudo cars, or when he used to do that. RC Components, they did my wheels. I've had numerous sets of wheels from them. They're local here in Bowling Green. Impact Racing was big on my safety. They did pretty much everything, my suit, belts, parachutes. Plasma Man, that intake is by far one of the cleanest masterpieces I've seen. It goes on a car inside and out. I actually have one sitting on my desk over there that's taken apart, or another desk I have, and it's beautiful. Jose from Force Induction, he never met him in person. And I don't know how we built the relationship that we've had, but he has made some badass turbos that has pushed people to say that I'm a liar and he's a liar, that it's a 7683 on there, which is precision version of 76, 75 or whatever the fuck they call it, but it's not actually 75, it's 83. People literally called him after when I broke the record and said that he's a fucking liar.
Wow.
At the shop. Renegade Racing Fuels, they literally, from front to back, the oil that's in my motor, the additive that's in my motor, their additive that's in my trans and my rear end, it's the same thing that I run in my motor as an additive to the fuel or the oil that's in there, to the methanol that I run in the car. They're local here in Bowling Green, and I couldn't thank them enough. Hammer B. Ham, he's a veteran, very smart, in the nice way I'll call him a nerd. He's got a lot of cool things coming out. He understands common sense physics, and that's hard to understand in racing. Sometimes people get caught up in a lot of shit, and between his concepts, it's Hammer Concepts and Designs, and Billy's knowledge from the past and future on making cars separate and why this works and doesn't, it proves, and number one compliment on my car is how it separates, plants, and goes straight down the track. Mm-hmm. And he's helped out a lot on that. And then last but not least, TKM. TKM's not I would say a sponsor on the car. Maybe they are. I might be misspeaking on that, but I love them to death. Like they took me out of a shitty situation I was in 2020, and I took them 3 motors, just a block alone, and rods and piston or whatever I had. I showed up there with $24,000 worth of material, just on that one motor, and they treated me like I was a long life customer of theirs that spent $300,000. And you know what? I didn't know who the Kevin Mullins was, and I didn't really care. But we had numerous conversations, and I gained the utmost respect for Kevin at Mondats. And we had a lot of back pressure issues, had nothing to do with the motor. We found out what it was at Mondats. And when an owner of a company tells you, I got your back, fucking send it. I don't give a shit if it blows it. We're going to go fucking fast. And this was a motor that was in his possession the week before. We rebuilt the motor from World Cup to Mondats. There was only a week in between. And it's a Coyote. It says an LS pushrod motor. That's a lot of fucking work. And Jonathan's told me before, he's the hardest working person I ever met, but that proved it. And I can't thank them enough. And Skinny there and Sammy and all these people at work. I think they got like 15 employees. I got a whole rack of T-shirts. They fucking wiped me out whenever they said they want a T-shirt for everybody at work. They got like 15, 16 employees now. And actually, Kevin ended up not even getting a shirt. So I feel bad about that, but I'll send him a shirt. And now, so that was 2020 or 2021, 2022. Haltech is on board. Hammer Be Ham's on board. All the ones that I said before are still on board.
Remember, you got to include your wife in this, the thinking. So
I'm glad you fucking said that. Okay, so I have to thank in the 2022 season that I'm going to be coming in the middle of it probably. I got to thank my wife because I haven't done this in the past, and she reminded me, and I came up with a good slogan. Hope her dad doesn't watch this. I got to thank my wife for having the softest ass lips and the deepest ass throat. Thank you. I couldn't do without you.
excellent.
That's horrible. But love you, honey. Thank you for letting me travel all over like I did in the past life, and now I'm doing it now. Couldn't do it without you. Got 4 kids, and you hold the fork down. So, thank my wife. Haltech came on board. MGW, of course, is still on board. TKM's doing my billet motor, which is going to be a fucking badass motor.
Coyote. Oof. Nice.
Yeah, we're going to, it's going to be a badass motor.
We'll talk about that once you start running some numbers, and then we'll have you on.
So we got that motor, and Brett Barber at Airflow Solutions is he did a badass set of heads. He's got some advanced technology in it that we'll see. Impact Racing, of course, on there. Plasma Man, force inductions. I'm switching from twin turbos that I've always preached. I'm going to run a 114, 116 turbo on this build. And of course, people are going to watch it and be like, there's no way a stick shift car or a stock bore, which my car or motor is going to be stock bore, is going to be able to spool a 114, 116. We're going to do it, and it's going to go real fucking fast. Renegade, of course, they're on board. Hammer Concepts. The car was built for Brian Hammer. So the car I bought was built for him. And I don't know if it was for resale. I don't know if it was for a car he's going to race. I'm pretty sure it was for resale. It just happened to fall into place, and I get to pick up the baddest fucking technology chassis you've ever seen in your life. Granted, I got to fucking modify it, or it's been modified to put stock firewall and these stupid ass caps that go over a damn fucking strut towers, and we're putting a stock subframe back in it to fit these rules. But I want to race, so that's what we're going to do. TKM Performance, I'm going to run the same trans that I ran before with the PPG gear set. You can't leave PPG out. I ruined a lot of gears the year prior, and there's multiple reasons why. But at the end of the day, they were stock OEM gears made by Ford, and you know what? They're probably Chinese-made metal that's fucking bullshit. And now which they're an Australian company, and I have a lot of Australian. Oh, damn it! I almost forgot Turbo Smart. I always forget one company out of all of them. So you got Turbo Smart. They were on last year, so please put that in there that I fucking forgot Turbo Smart. But Turbo Smart did my wastegates and blow-off valves, and then this year they've worked pretty close, or Haltech has went out of their way to make sure that they're new. I'm running their 60 electronic gates this next year. So I'm ditching all the CO2. I'll have no CO2 in my chutes, no CO2 in the car, the electronic gates, and I'm going to run a heavy spring in the chutes. Turbo Smart's done a lot. Chris he's a good dude, and he's helped me out a lot with Turbo Smart. And then it's hold on. I'm glad we can edit this because that'd be fucking bad if it was live. Armor Coating in Clarksville, they're doing you're going to see a lot of different type of powder coating that's going to be done on this car. Just a little hint on it. It's all going to be clear. So it's all going to be raw metal, and then we'll mix in a little bit of stuff to it. Just like you looked at the 1320 video on there, the whole clear rear end setup I had in the car, the whole car is going to be like that.
Oh, geez.
So it's going to be beautiful. It's going to be red. It's going to be a little bit lower. It's going to be a hell of a lot faster, and I can't wait for 2022.
Dude, it's going to be exciting because if anyone can do it, or if anyone has the wherewithal to see it through, it's someone like yourself, because you did it already. So you're just going to do it again in a better chassis. Man, I really appreciate you taking the time. We shot the shit for a little bit, and I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. I know you got a lot of shit going on, got a lot of businesses and stuff just kind of in the pot. And I appreciate you taking the time out to just talk to little old me, because I wanted to give you guys or give you a chance to kind of clear the air as to what's going on, and to just kind of get to the people to get to know you specifically, the man behind the car, and then what we're going to see in 2022. Hopefully we'll see. I mean, you're aiming for 5s. You're not fucking around. So I'd love to see you make that happen, brother.
Well, I appreciate it, and I hope you have a good night. And if you ever need anything, I'm here. We'll make it happen.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate you, man. Thank you. Have a good night, man.
You too.
All right. See ya.
See ya.